Enough fiberglass. Let's get back to some metalwork. I got the itchies. In a prior lifetime, in a land far away, I took this piece of sheet metal and I put it in the stretcher and I made a curve. That's where the story begins. Okay, so we built this in the other shop. And in doing so, look at the inside of that door. There's not a lot there to latch onto. So, that's today's struggle. You can see here, this is all chopped apart. So there's pretty much no door jamb at all. You got a rogue piece of tube, a miscut piece of fender, and the door with no jam. So we're gonna build all that. Whether we do it right now, complete or not, is yet to be determined. As usual with me, it could be a can of worms we're opening up. So this is why I built this. See? Door needs something to come against so we can put our weather stripping in there. That's kind of where this story started. The door shuts. And then we can build that anew. I can already see that the door here is hitting that. So, oh, because this got to move in considerably. There it is right there. There it is. Yeah. All right. So, I guess if there's anything I would critique on this, is that this material here has to move out of the way. When I was doing this, I miscut it to match the actual Cadillac door without realizing we're gonna have to build a jamb, but that'll work. That'll set that right in place. It'll bring this weather strip right up into here. I'm gonna trim that a little bit with the shear and then tack it in. Just a little bit proud right there. Hammer, give that a knock. Because this is loose, it's just sitting there. So that'll come up against this tube here for some strength. And then I'll hit this tube here. Yeah, cool. Let's commit to that. Okay, so I chopped this back so that the door comes in, clears that, and shuts with this being even with this tube here. Now we're going to put the inside of the door together. A little paper template action. And then I think I'm going to have to get in there and scrape it because it's got a lot of tar. So roughly 2 hands plus on the paper, and about 3.5 fingers. So what we need to do is cap that door. Like so. Because we want this to have a little lip here too. It's going to seal someday. So, yeah, we're going to have to put a little curvature on this. A lot of curvature on that. So, I want this to be 90 degrees right here. So this is coming in, it's turning 90. I'm looking at that, guesstimating. And we got a gap as usual with a curved panel. So, I'll bring this up, kind of just a little scribe, about that far. I want to cut this way back. We're getting a little closer. That'll actually work, but that will work. Yeah, you're within a very, very small amount of perfection. All right, cool. Let me scratch back some of this fuzz that's in there, and we'll double check it. Yeah, that looks cool. All right, so that looks good enough for my tastes. So if this was like a production car, this here would have a flange turning out in this direction, and it would get spot welded through here. It's going to be a really hard shape for us to create in that way with a stringer or a stretcher, because if this is a perfectly straight line like we have here, then it's going to work, but it's a compound curve. So you could do it, but you'd have to stretch this entire panel here, and the depth on that, it's going to be a huge challenge. I feel comfortable enough taking the sheet and spot welding it right in here. I'm okay with doing that. That's going to close this up just fine, and we'll have room to put in a latch or whatever else. So let's transfer this to sheet metal. That's the thing, in comparison to just looking at something on the car, you can see how really curved this is. Mm-hmm. That's what I was describing. So we'll just let this be big as it is, because this is going to get cut here. It's this internal curve that's critical. We'll do that. All right, we know it's going to bend sort of like that. See what it looks like.
That was one way to do it. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was going to curve that piece of steel with my hand, but decided not to because you wouldn't want to do that. This is razor sharp. Can you see that little thing right there?
Not really.
Can you hear it?
Yeah. Oh.
That's why I didn't push my hand. Do not run your hand across that. It's almost never a perfect transition from paper to steel. Let's just fit it up, make another mark if we need to. There we go. Spoke too soon, that'll work. Oh, just a little bit. Little trim right there. Real close. Still coming up a little short on this end. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we got this laid up. We're looking here. At the bottom here, it's going to want to fold under. Make a mark from there to there. That's a weird mark. Oh, it's bent. I was like, that doesn't add up. More like that. Yeah, the bottom of this is trash. That's why we got to bend it under. It's a big old piece hanging off right here. Yeah, it's all junk. Yep. Gonna set that in the sheet metal brake and twist it. It's a 90. That'll give us a good landing point. We're still gonna have to put some structure on this side of the door, but at least we can come into here and then trim the rest back. Yeah, it looks good. We have to weld that solid. Come through there. That will come up like that. Grooving. All right, let's get our welding equipment in place. Still got a little tar on that surface, but we'll clean that up. All right. Take this and bring it into here. All the welder blows on her.
I know. I didn't know if you wanted me to move that or not.
Okay, so I'm going to try to grab through here. So I'm just letting the door be what it is, and then I'm going to cut this off. So you'll see the color come through. I'll know where to cut it on that side just by the color of this weld showing through. With a series of little marks. decent start on that. Let it cool off. We don't want to warp it. Just like we want. Cool. Okay, we got a good start to that. So all this detail here that Alan and I put in is not going to be there. This is going to be the new door top. So we're going to work on creating this shape to the fender and coming around to here. So let me get that big rust removal tool and do some grinding and we'll be right back. All right, so I just took some time to clean all this rust off. Because we have to create a piece that now brings this door to the fender and turns in. And as I mentioned with the shrinker and the stretcher, because we're only working at about an inch-ish, we can shrink this edge into that curve that the door does, this radius, and we can stretch the other edge. So I set up the shrinker and the stretcher. That was part of our delay. So yeah.
Nobody knows it's delay. It's TV magic, baby.
Yes. So let's get a ruler and measure this. We're going to try to create sort of like an S space. It's going to curve this way. I don't know. It's a lot to think about.
You've done it before. I've seen you.
Of course. Yeah, so our max dimension, that's what I was saying, is about 1.25 inches. So we want a good gap here. So I'm going to make it, you can always pull it back a little bit. So I'll go with 1.25 inches by, say, 3/4 to head in. So 1.25 inches plus 3/4 is 2 inches. You know me in the math. And we're going to want it about 28 inches long. So just looking at the steel, we got 2 big dents right here, so I'm just going to try to stay inside of that. Start a new straight edge. We want 2. All right, now we're going to put that in the sheet metal brake. I said 28, but we can make it any length we want, longer than that. 29, works. Put it in the sheet metal brake at 1 1/4. I'm actually going to keep the 1 1/4 in the machine. The outside dimension, as we mentioned, is 3/4. So we'll just measure 3/4 out. I like it. Put a 90-degree bend in it. This is where the shrinking and the stretching begins. Okay, so we can see here. So we're going to want to curve this way. That's going to require a stretch through all this. Let's begin. I know I'm not going to hit it the first time like I did in other episodes, but let's try it. This being the center of the apex of the curve. All right, stretch. It's definitely a little bit weird right there. We know we're about 1 inch too tall there. Let's compare, make some notes.
Did you get it?
Darn tootin' close.
Aww.
We're gonna come in right here. Right here. We're gonna bring this from here and out. It's real easy to get overzealous with this and overbend it also. That's why the shrinker is set up on this side of the vise. So if we go too far, we're going to put it in here and pull it back a little. Yeah, bottom looks great. Right there, looks perfect. So I want to increase this a little bit. We're going to open that, and then we're going to really come in through here. That just a little bit. Camera might not pick it up, but I can see where the radius is like faceting. I'm just kind of picking the spots in between where I stretched last. We know we want this to really turn right through here. Eventually this will split. You can only stretch it so far without annealing it. So hopefully we don't get to that point. It's not a crazy curve. Cool. Yeah, so you can see right here, I overamped it big time. Right? So now I'm going to come back to these two and I'm going to pull it in a little bit. This is the shrinker. It's going to do the opposite. It's going to pull that in. Decrease that curve a little. There. Let's try that. Yeah, so that recovered right there. We still want to come in hard right here. And I should just lay it right in between here and there. Push it right there. There. I bet that's good. Still want some more. So you can see where it's rocking. That's where we're going to stretch it. Right on that line. So I'm just watching this end. It's just going to move. Right there. I bet that does it. So we don't need this to come up all the way to here, but that's a good setup. So now we have this in place, but see now it's rocking on the door. So it's pretty flat at the bottom. But right about here is where it starts to need to be shrunk. So we're going to make our mark on this one now. And this is where the fun begins. These are pretty primitive tools, as I mentioned, with something a little more suited for a production or whatever manufacturing shop. It would have different radius dies so that when I squeeze this, it's going to flatten it because that's all that jaw does. So it's going to shrink it, but it's also going to mess it a little. So I'm going to have to do some hammer and dolly work. There's some really fancy tools out there that would do this beautifully. But so I'm only going to put this tool very little bit because I don't want to flatten it. Remember, I'm just talking about grabbing the edge, and I was going to pull it in. So a little bitly. It's a lot of bitly. So I'm in here. Let's see what that looks like. See how significantly curved it is now? Mm-hmm. It's going both ways, so bring that rubber mallet. Yeah, so see the tool flattened it out right here. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to want to stretch that again. That's the dance. I'm going to go on the very outside. Yep. Put it back in the shape a little bit. All right, so we're going to have to shrink this back here. So it fits the door perfectly. See, it took this curve and put it right into perspective. So that's okay. But now it's all wonky on that edge. So we're going to shrink this right here back. And I saw the bottom got a little bit funky too. So this gap is pretty heavy, so I'm going to have to shrink this and pull it back out. So see, this gap right here is about what I'm looking to get. That's too much, so I got to shrink this. That was too much. This, see how smoothly it is? Then that's a little bit bothersome, so I'm going to shrink right there. Yeah, reasonable. Yeah. Swing that door and see what happens. Yeah, it doesn't hit the fender at all. I think I can live with that. Probably going to stretch it just a little bit right there. I'm going to try to decrease that gap just a bit. Yeah, right there. Yeah. Cool. So that's within reason.
That was a lot of jump cuts. In my
That's the
editing.
thing about fabrication. It's not very exciting a lot of times. I'm going to tack this up. So this is bothering me a little bit right here. So I'm going to tack it on the other side of that trouble area. Just one. So see, I got this all rigidized right here. There's one tack here. So if I hit this way, it's going to pivot just a little bit. And I think I can get away with it. That's just going to make my mind at ease. Going to need to lump it. Are you registering this? How it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what's bugging me. So I'm gonna. Yeah, just moved it over a little bit. I like it. Cool. So now by hitting that, see I messed with this gap a little bit, but because it's the tail end, see I can just lift that up by hand. So I'm just got the door in place. I'm just gonna hold that up there. Touch it. Yeah. Okay, so we're unsure as to how this is going to finish off, so I'm going to leave this sticking up for now. But so our mission today was to get these holes filled in. So we have the back of the inner door structure, and we have two surfaces that we can set up for whatever weather seal we choose. It's not going to be rain proof, but you know, sometimes when the door shuts, it's got a little rubber stopper to hit on. So the next step, see, we're not fouling on the fender anywhere. Decent door gap. Next step is going to be to round off the top of this door and fit it to that ugly upside down dashboard. Stand tuned.
Stand tuned.
Stand tuned for the next update.